Hello, all my wonderful artists. I'm making this video to show you how I created my dragon's eye for our dragon's eye project. So I hope you have fun. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I wanted to show you with my printed paper and my instructional video on how to draw a dragon eye. So let's go ahead and get started. And now I do ask that you modify it and make it your own design with some of the examples that I showed you with the pupils and so forth, okay? And choose your own colors. But I'm going to show you this one, which is the one that I made in my example. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to make a diagonal line. And notice how big I'm making it. Then I will make another diagonal line on the bottom going up. Now notice how I'm kind of curving it right here because we want it to look like an eye. So this is the inside of your eye right here, okay, where your tear duct is. Now after I do this, I will make a second line. Here so I can see better. Second line for the eyelid. And then I'll start adding the scales. Now, if you remember from the images that I showed you from the beginning of the lesson, the iguana has special scales around the eyes, and these are the reptilian scales that help to protect the eyes. And that's what I'm sketching, and they will look a little different than the other scales. And now that I'm finished with the top, I will go to the bottom, and you will notice that they kind of look like a rectangular square type of shape. And they curve up and then they connect. And these ones are a little bit longer. And then they have that curve on the inside. Then after you do that, you will take your pencil and make a series of circular scales. And then after you finish that, you can also do a cluster here in the back to fill in this space. So you will notice here on the printout, how it has a cluster of different circles. So I can get real close to it. See the different circles that are there? I know it's kind of blurry, but right there, see? So you can go ahead and do that and use those circles to fill in that area. Then when you are through with that, you can go ahead and just continue making those circular scales above the top of the scales you have there. Okay, this is really fun too. Oops, hit my camera. This is really fun too because you can just zone out and make your circles and just put them all the way across. Okay, and then after you finish those, you can start another layer of scales. And I like to do that by making a line that goes up and over, and then just making another line that goes up and over. Okay, and you can make them a little bit different. They don't have to be uniform. Let me add some more here so that, and you can make them all different. It's up to you. It is your artwork. Okay, and you want to put these at least to there. And then complete this one. Let's make this a little bit. We don't want it to go away. Okay. And then you'll also do a layer down here as I started. So we would just complete that. And then we're going to bring it around like this. And then we will do a series of a cluster series to kind of fill this area in here. And these are just the little round scales. Okay. Then you'll go all the way over here. And then after you do this series of circular scales, then you will go ahead and add another layer. But this next layer underneath will be a little bit smaller. So let's go ahead and complete this. Now this is my cluster here. So I want this to kind of come down like this, like the eye. So okay. And then we'll go ahead and start adding another layer down here. So let's start right about right here. Remember, this will be a smaller layer, smaller cluster layer. Way up to right there. Okay. Let's put some more right here. Okay. And then you can see for variation that the scales get larger and even larger. So they get larger and then larger, okay? So that the next layer will be more like this size and then like this size. So we'll go ahead and make the series of other ones all the way around. So this will come over here, and put this one over here. As it gets more towards the center of the eye, then they get a little bit smaller. So kind of keep that in mind, okay? Let me make this one just a little bit smaller. It doesn't need to be that big. And remember, you want to do this so that it goes off of your paper. And then as it gets towards this, so it would be bigger in the middle and then it gets smaller. So keep that in mind as you're doing this, okay? Okay, and then for this part right here on the top, you'll want to make them smaller. So it will just be a series of small ones. And we'll do a couple of layers here. So let's go ahead and do that. Now remember, this right here will also be the smaller ones. Okay, so I'm going to stop this here, and then when I'm finished, I will come back and let you see what I've done. Okay, so I have finished putting all the scales around my artwork. Okay, so I have all of my scales done, and once you get all of your scales finished, you're going to go back in with a Sharpie or a permanent marker, and you're going to darken in your lines, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so now I have all my scales drawn. So now what I would do is I will take my permanent marker or a Sharpie. This isn't really a Sharpie, but it's a permanent marker, and I will go over all of my lines, but I will make sure to darken in some of the areas as to give emphasis. So if you take a look here, you can see that some of the top lines up here are darker, but then these smaller lines are lighter in detail and marked so that the details are smaller. And then you've got the thicker lines around the eyes. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So how I would do this is I would go ahead and trace my line like that, and then I'll make another line and then just color it in, and this way it makes it thicker. Now you can just do several lines to make it thicker, however you want to thicken it up, but just go ahead and make it thicker. And you have your printout, so you can kind of use that as a reference as to what lines are going to thicken up. And then I will go over these lines here. This one's going to be a little bit thicker too, so I will make that one a little bit more thicker. And then come over here and do this line as well. So you will be going over all of your lines with your marker and just thickening up some of the lines. And I will show you what I mean as soon as I get this. And you want to make sure that your other lines are not as dark. So you want to do these right here very lightly, as lightly as you can, because you don't want a lot of emphasis on those smaller ones. Okay, so you want to make these darker around here. So I'll also go back in and make this a little bit more dark. Thick is what I meant, thick. And then do the same thing with these. So if you'll notice, these also, so the bigger ones are the ones that will be the darkest, okay? So and then all the other ones will be a little bit lighter. So you're going to make these dark around here. So I would make this dark here to give it more emphasis. And then I will make these right here a little bit darker. So all of these will be a little bit darker. And then your other ones will be lighter. So make sure that you make all the other ones light, these littler ones lighter. Now the ones I'm under here, I'm not going to make these real dark because I want to give the bottom one more emphasis on the darkness. And then you can go back in and you can erase all of your lines. Okay, so now with these down here, I want to make it look like there's more of a shadow coming from the left, or that the light source is on the right, so the left side will be a little bit darker. So for instance, like this will be darker, and it gets lighter, then darker, and lighter, and so forth. Okay. You can go back in and darken them up even more on the left side. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and I'll come back and let you see what I've done, okay? Okay, so as you can see here, I've darkened in a lot of the bigger, more defined scales, and left the other ones kind of on the outside a little bit lighter. These I kept kind of light too, because the further away it gets, it's going to be lighter. When you're finished tracing, then you can go back in and you can start creating your pupil. Now you can do your pupil however you want to. Either you can do it in a cat's eye, like that. Or you can do it like the example, which would be the circle. And then you would go in with 4 points. And then 4 more points, about the same length. Make these a little bit longer. And then some smaller points. And then to trace it, what I did was I would go like this, and I would bend just a little bit, curve it just a little bit, and then curve it like this. Kind of reminds me of a sun. And then after I did that, I had that little reflection right there, which is kind of did it in a star shape. So put the little reflection in there. Okay. And I went ahead and colored it in with my marker, my black marker. And then once this is all colored in, then we'll go ahead and go to the next step, okay? Okay, so the next step that we are going to do is we are going to color it, and we are going to use colored pencils to do this. So in order to blend our colors together, we want to choose colors that are on the color wheel that are analogous, which means that they are next to each other on the color wheel. Okay, and I will go over this specifically with you as well. But the two colors I chose for around the outside of the eye are the orange and yellow. They are next to each other on the color wheel. And then for the inside, I chose green and blue, and they're also next to each other on the color wheel. So I would first want to color around the pupil before I start adding in the other, but just so that you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to start out here with my yellow and my orange analogous colors, and I will put down the darkest color first, which is the orange. So I would do this all the way around, but I'm going to stop about right here just to show you what I'm doing. Okay, so there I have the orange. Then I would go back in with my yellow, and I'll color most of this inside with my yellow as well. Okay, but once I have gotten my lighter color down, I would go back in with my darker color and just go down into the lighter color. And then you can see how it kind of blends together. And this is how you blend with your colors. Okay. Then you can go ahead and finish up. Now with the around the pupil, I did the same thing. I first went in with my darker color, which was my blue, and traced around. And if you're doing the cat's eye, you would do the same thing with the cat's eye. You would go with the blue, darker blue first, and then go with the green on the outside. Okay, and then you would take the green and go to the outside. And then you go back in with the blue and blend so that it blends together. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this. And before I do that, let's go into this. So what I'm doing with this is I'm going to make most of it green, but I want to give some highlight, some blending with this area. So what I would do is the same thing as I would go in with my darker, and you want to press down real hard so that you get the blue. Press down real hard. Maybe come around just a little bit, and then go back in with the green, and you would press a little hard with the green, not real hard, and then you would make lighter values. And remember, value is dark to light or light to dark, but this particular one we are going dark to light, and then come back down with the light and make it lighter. Then go back in with your blue, take it down into the green so that it blends. Okay, so that you get that dark to light value. And you can even go back in and darken it up a little bit more if you want. Okay, and that's how I will do with each of these. I would just make it a little bit dark with my blue, the top, and then just do it kind of on one side. That way it gives like the the illusion that you have your cast shadow coming from the right, that the light would be on the right. Okay, so I would be doing with this with these at the top, and then I would do these at the bottom, and then I would do the rest of it in just my lighter green color. Okay, I'll come back and show you how it looks when I'm finished, okay? Okay, so I pretty much have my eye all colored in, and what I'm going to do is will take my colored pencil and then just slightly go ahead and color in the rest. Now I suggest that when you color these, try to keep your hand going in one direction. It makes it come out a lot nicer. So you don't want to just color in all different directions. You want to keep your hand going in one direction, okay? So you see how I'm doing this? And I will color the rest of it all green. Now to give more emphasis around the eyes, I think I'm going to color these little balls in, or these little circles in, really dark with my green. And I would do that all the way around just to give it more emphasis. And I may even go back in and darken these up a little bit darker with my green. You know, but it's up to you. Now, when you go and you choose your colors for inside, you can use any colors that you prefer. You don't have to use orange and yellow, but they do need to be analogous, okay? Which means that you need to find two colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So when you do your scales around the eyes and you do your color around your pupil, whether it's this or a cat's eye or however you make it, you do need to use two analogous colors next to each other on the color wheel. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, so here I have completed my artwork, and as you can see, I used analogous colors. I did some blending, and I really have fun doing it. Hope you have fun too. Okay, so I have finished my artwork, and you'll notice that I went around with my little circles and darkened it in with a little bit of the green. And then as I went up here, I also did some darker values from dark to light. And then here around the outside, I did some darker values of the green. And then as I went down, then it got a little bit lighter, and then it got a little darker right here too. But yeah, so I had fun doing this. I hope you have fun too.